Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. Thanks for joining me for our next lesson, free astro lesson, and in the series that I've been doing on moon and planets. I'm really excited to share this one with you. It is a pretty intense one, and as I started preparing for this video, moon conjunct sun in a person's chart, I realized that what I was dealing with is much more hefty than what I've done previously in these moon conjunct with planets series, in the moon conjunct with planets series. So get ready for some pretty interesting, intense stuff. This is why I've got my astro wheel with me this time, because we will have to refer to some visual explanations to help understand a few of the idiosyncrasies with this combo. So how firstly do we see if we have this particular combination in our chart, the moon conjunct with the sun? Well, I'll use this as an example. This is what it will look like. You will have the moon in the same sign, and usually within fairly close degree as well as the sun. They will be together in the same sign. Now, if you want to look and see whether you have this in your chart and you're not sure how to do so, head over to astro.com, type in your details. It will bring up for you a chart that looks similar to this round wheel chart. And what you'll need to do is look for the glyph that represents the moon. It looks a bit like this. I'll draw it for you. I think it's this way around. No, it might be the other way, but it's a half moon essentially. That's the glyph of the moon, and this is the glyph of the sun, very roughly. And you'll look for those glyphs and look for them in your chart, and that will show you where the sun and moon fall. If they fall together in the same sign, then you're looking at having been born with this conjunction in the chart. Now, this conjunction requires a bit more detail to analyze than usual. In the system of astrology I use, in Vedic astrology, they see that two planets in the same sign is considered to be a conjunction. So, for example, you could have the sun at 1 degree of Sagittarius and the moon here at 29 degrees, and that would still be considered to be a conjunction of the sun and the moon. But I want to point out that in this video, the effects of a conjunction of that nature are going to be far less impactful, and we'll talk about the impacts that will occur soon, but this is going to be far less impactful than having the moon and the sun together. And we are talking about, in this case, when they are within 12 degrees of one another. So for example, if you had, just say you had the sun at 15 degrees of Sagittarius, right in the middle degrees. If your moon happened to fall 12 degrees before that or 12 degrees after, it's going to mean different things for you. So really what we want to look at with this, and I hope I'm explaining this as clearly as possible for you, look and see if your sun and moon are firstly together in the same sign as one another, and secondly, are they within 12 of the degrees, and we see that you'll see it on your chart from astro.com. There's a whole lot of little lines, there's 30 of them in each sign. They're degree symbols. So if you have your sun and moon together within 12 degrees of these little symbols, then you've got what we call a combust moon. What it is in the sky in reality is when the moon is invisible, the new moon. Having this means you were born under a new moon. The moon is darkened by the earth's shadow on it. It's invisible. There is no moon visible in the sky at the time you were born, if the moon is within 12 degrees of the sun. This is very, very important to note, because the effect of being born under this dark moon, invisible moon, combust moon, the effect of that is very, very different to the effect of having the moon here and the sun here, where the moon is still visible. When the moon goes beyond sort of this 12 degree mark, if it's before the 12-degree mark or after the 12-degree mark, then it's visible. You'll see that fingernail of moon in the sky. And therefore there is the energy of Luna, the moon, present in your life, in your embodiment of a moment in time. That will be present in you. So it's very important. This is where this conjunction is different to any other. Because the effect of the sun is so different to the effect of the other planets. You know, sun, moon with Uranus, moon with Mercury, like they're all different. They're all, an effect of a combination of two energies with the moon. But when you've got it with the sun combusts things. The sun burns things. It's the sun that hides things from the sky, from us. The sun makes planets invisible when they get too close. You cannot get too close to the king. And that's what the sun is, the king of the solar system, the king of the horoscope. So when the moon gets too close to the sun, it becomes invisible and we get a new moon. So hopefully that makes sense for people. Let's have a look at what this is all about. Firstly, we need to have a look at what the moon represents in a chart. Well, it represents our emotions, our ability to be emotionally expressive, and what we need at an emotional level in our life to be satisfied, to be happy, to feel safe and secure and stable in the world. That's seen by the moon and its placement. It tells us a lot about these particular needs emotionally in our life and how we'll express emotions and how we can get off kilter quickest with our emotions is also revealed by the moon's placement. So emotions is the first thing. The second thing, there's a lot of things the moon represents. It represents our home, where we live, what the actual bricks and mortar looks like. It represents our mother and our relationship or with our mother, or rather how our mother nurtured us and how we will behave as a mother, how we are likely to nurture our children when they come along. The moon also represents past lives. It is a very karmic planet. It is an indicator of the type of experiences that we will have had in past incarnations. So the moon represents a lot of different things. I do want to point out with regard to mothering that this is one component, the conjunction of the moon with another planetary entity. It's only one component of the mother assessment in the chart. If you want to know more, and there might be more idiosyncrasies and details regarding your relationship with your mother, then you need to look at the whole chart configuration. So keep that in mind. This is just one little slice of the pie in regard to your relationship with a mother or maternal figure. All right, the next thing that I want to look at is the sun. What does the sun represent? Well, the moon represents the mother. The sun represents the father energy. It is the energy of the male dominant. It therefore correlates to our authority figures in a more paternal type way. You know, Saturn is authority figures that are like the boss, the CEO, the head of the company. But this is authority figures that we respect, that inspire, or we should theoretically respect, that inspire us, that are that more fatherly type energy. It's also the energy of the king, because the sun is the center of the solar system. It's what we all circle around, all the planets circle around. So it's the kingly energy, the king of the solar system. It rules Leo, king of the lions, king of the jungle. The sun and Leo are very correlated in their energy in that way. The sun also in a person's chart shows where they will get their self-confidence from, what will make them shine, what will make them glow, what will make them blossom in life. That's the position of the sun reveals that. It correlates generally to career. There are other planets that we look at for more specific career definition in each individual chart. But generally speaking, the sun is all about career, where we shine. It's our creativity and our creative expression we see from the sun as well. It's also a representation of pride, because the sun correlates to ego and our sense of ego, our sense of personality, our sense of self, our own view of ourself. And therefore it is connected to pride and the how proud we are about our life and who we are and how we're working through it. Pride is very much a sun quality. And as I said, father figures. So it is a number of different things that are represented by the sun. So the combo of the sun and the moon is quite a powerful one, because these two luminaries are very powerful figures in and of themselves in a person's chart. So with this configuration, you are born under a new moon. Now, when I first started studying astrology, my natural assumption was that being born under a new moon must be really, really good. And that's because every month you'll hear astrologers online saying, oh, new moon energy, it's a wonderful time for making new wishes and hopes and dreams and setting new goals. And they'll talk about this at new moon time every month. And so naturally I was thinking, oh, well, this is great. This must mean, wonderful new things for people born under a new moon. Not really. It is actually a very difficult energy to carry, especially if you've got it within that 12-degree boundary that I mentioned. Then it's really, really difficult, because the moon disappears from the sky. Your emotional energy, your relationship with your mother, the ability to be satisfied in life, it's suddenly swallowed up by the pride, the ego, the power of the sun. And we'll look at what that actually looks like in a person's chart in a second. So essentially, when this happens, and when you get this in a chart, the soul, the personality, the ego, and the emotions, they are all together in the same sign. So there's a massive focus in one area of life. The moon and the sun, in evolutionary astrology, they are part of a trio that we call the primal triad. The sun, the moon, the two luminaries that light our skies, and the rising sign is the other part of the primal triad. Now, here we have two components of the primal triad in one area alone. For example, this is Sagittarius. So this energy of Sagittarius is copying all the focus. What if the rising sign was Sagittarius as well? Boom, you've got massive focus in that one realm of life. Very, very powerful focus on one particular realm. But even just the sun and the moon by themselves in a single sign will cause a massive energetic focus in one area for that particular person. The other thing, and now we're getting into really complex territory, the other thing that we want to be aware of with this combination only, not with the other planetary combinations I've talked of in other videos, but in this combination, the other thing we need to be aware of is whether the moon is applying or separating. So the detail that we start getting into with this conjunction is really rather a lot. This combination here, this is an applying moon, and that's because the moon is behind the sun. So the sun is here, and the moon in its trajectory every month, it goes around this way, around the horoscope. So when it's here, it is behind the movement of the sun. And then that's applying. And then once it passes the degree of the sun, it begins to separate, and it's separating from the sun as it comes around here. So if this moon was, say, at 1 degree of Sagittarius and the sun was at 15 degrees, the moon would be applying. If this moon was at 30 degrees and the sun was at 15 degrees, the moon would be separating. And there is a different effect depending on that. So check your chart and see, is the moon coming up and applying to the sun, or is it separating from the sun? Check that out, find out if that's what you've got, and the effect of that will be different. I'll give you a little overview now of what that difference is in the life of an individual with this. If you happen to have an applying moon, that's if your moon is 12 degrees, let's say, before the sun, then it can create more introversion in you. You might be much more inward looking. You might like your alone time more. You might be more, say, lost in your head, lost in your mind. The moon does correlate to the mind. Your emotions can be a little bit burnt because, as we've established, 12 degrees from the moon means that the moon's invisible and your emotional life represented by the moon is combusted by the sun. So your emotions can be a bit burnt. You can have more negative thinking, more negative style emotions. that crop up from time to time, something you'll need to learn mastery of in order to have a happy life. It's as though you can't see what's happening ahead of time. You can't plan and prepare for the future as well, because the sun's kind of like there burning everything out in front of you, blocking you. So this energy is there as well. Also, when you have an applying moon, in this case, the father figure, which is represented by the sun, is going to have a more dominant influence in your life. Doesn't mean he was bad, doesn't mean anything like that. It just means the paternal line is going to have more influence than the maternal line. Your mother, she would have been more obedient to the father, if that's a thing in your family. She would have towed the line. The father would have had the final say, that sort of thing. Now, if you had the moon separating here, leaving the realm of the sun, if that's what was occurring for you, well, it's different. It will play out differently in your life. It would give you then more confidence. Your confidence would be greater. You would be more aligned with moving forward in life and more forward looking. As you look forward in your trajectory, this is the moon. There's no sun blocking the way anymore, burning things up. It's like the world becomes clear. Now I know where I'm heading. Now I know where I'm going. So there's more confidence, more moving forward, more positive thought and more positive action now. You have the motivation to achieve when you have a separating moon in this case. It also means that the mother is the more influential figure for you growing up, or the mother's line or the mother's family. She'll be the one who wears the pants in the family more. Doesn't mean that dad doesn't have a say, but mum usually will have the final say, or dad will listen to mum and weigh up mum's opinion a lot more and give it usually more validation and credence than his own. So the mother tends to be the more influencing factor in your childhood or parental relations than the father in that case when you have a separating moon. So that's what that means if you have this in the chart. Now let's get stuck into the good side of what it means to have a moon conjunct with the sun in the chart. Now this goes for both. This goes for both applying and separating. Generally, you're going to feel these things. There will be a sense of determination that you have. You'll be a very determined person, determined to achieve, determined to push ahead in life. There's no tug of war between your heart and your emotions and your ego and personality. They combine in the one realm. You're going to be, let's say it's in Sagittarius, you're going to be determined with the things that Sagittarius represents for you in your individual chart. Let's use an example. I'll get my little rising sign arrow. Let's say you're Pisces rising and you had a new moon. You're born under a new moon in the 10th house. Means that you are going to be quite determined with 10th house things, becoming, leaving a legacy for those who come after you. You're going to be quite... there's no tug of war between your heart and your emotions and your ego and personality regarding career. You'll know what you want to do in career more. You'll be quite single-minded, single-focused, and you'll put a lot of energy in life into that realm. Even if you're introverted, even if you've got the applying moon rather than separating moon, you will put a lot of energy and drive into that realm of life. The career realm of life is the big focus in that case. So you're going to need to look at where this falls, what sign it falls in for you, and what house it falls in for you. And that's where I could have done a whole massive big other video about this conjunction, because the sign placement and the house placement is very, very important when you've got sun moon conjunction. Now, it will make you a very independent person. As I said, with the applying moon position, it will make you introverted, yes, but you'll also be very independent. And same with the separating moon. You'll be very independent in your thoughts. You'll be very independent with your emotions. You'll be very independent with what you want to achieve. Say, for this example, in the 10th house, you probably end up working for yourself or doing things your way. So you'll have an independent approach to your career in this regard. Makes you very independent to have been born under the new moon. Now, the moon is also a friend of the sun. They're friends in astrology. And so this new moon can bring success in life, great success in life actually, because of the strong single-minded focus that it's giving you in a certain realm. And this is a realm that you'll want to achieve in. Moon is our sense of stability and satisfaction. You'll get a lot of satisfaction out of focusing on this realm of life, and you'll also have what it takes to succeed in this realm of life. Moon and sun together. Yeah, what you want and how you feel about what you want, they're one and the same thing. So you'll have desire for success in career, and you'll also feel right about succeeding in career, and because of that combo, you usually will. In this case, we're using career as an example, but depends where it falls in your chart. It will give you more instinctive behavior to have this combination. And what I mean by that is you will just know. You'll get a sort of an instinct, an insight, just a sixth sense about how to make life work in career for you, if that's where it falls. You'll get a sixth sense, an instinctive knowing about what next step to take in order to progress in whatever realm this happens to fall in your chart. You tend to be more practical when you've got a new moon, when you're born under a new moon. The desires of your life, they really match your abilities and your capacity. And if you don't have the talent to, say, be the next Einstein, you won't pursue being the next Einstein. You'll be practical and realistic about things. So you might instead choose to be a local science teacher. You will match your ideals to your capabilities. Usually when you've got this, there's this practicality about what you can do and what you want to do. When you've got this, your desires will match your abilities, which is kind of handy. There's a lot of us who are aiming up here and falling down here and ending up sad because of it. So this is a bonus for you guys. You'll also be quite emotionally self-soothing when you've got this position. Self-reliant emotionally and self-assured emotionally. This is nice. This is really good. You won't be sort of, second guessing yourself at an emotional level. You'll just be naturally, confidently yourself emotionally as well. Now, it can indicate that your parents were on the same page. As I said a moment ago when I was talking about applying and separating, the influence of the parent can vary depending on which one of these you have. But when they're in the same sign, the parents are going to generally think similarly about how they parent and which school you should go to and which extracurricular activities you should have done. They're going to be on the same page, generally speaking. That may very well be that your parents come from different backgrounds. They have different morals, the same morals, the same ethics, come from the same background. Sorry if I've confused you there. So there's going to be this similarity that's present with regard to your parents, the mother and father. Same intent, same beliefs, mutually supportive of one another in some way. And as I said, the moon is karmic. It represents past lives. So, and the sun is the king. The sun is celebrity. The sun is popularity or highly creative people. So it's very possible that with this combo, you will have had at least one past life where you have been in a position of notoriety or fame or success, or been part of the upper crust, so to speak, been sort of royalty or in the aristocracy or something like that. Or you might have been a very successful performer, or on stage, or a singer, or somebody who is a well-known artist. So the notoriety and popularity component says that it's possible in a past life that's what you experienced. You were somebody quite famous. Hey, that sounds like fun. Or the other alternative is that you may have been quite autonomous in a past life. The sun is very autonomous. It's about me. Not about you, it's about me. And so you might have had a past life where you were in some sort of autonomous situation where you were just doing it your way with very little disregard, with a lot of disregard for everybody else. They didn't matter. So it could indicate a past life of that nature as well. So they're the actual, what we would call good components of being born under a new moon. what about the difficulties? Well, we've already covered a couple of those when we were talking about applying and separating moon. It can make you more introverted by nature with an applying moon. But also emotions, when you've got the combust version of this. So everything I've just described with the good is really applying to the moon and the sun being together in the same sign, regardless of whether they are within combustion or not, that 12-degree trigger point. But when we are in that 12-degree trigger point, one of the difficulties is that our emotions become burnt up. We lack an emotional nature. It's not so much that we're cold emotionally, it's we're dry. Our emotions aren't flowing with us. We don't sort of tap into them readily. The moon is a watery planet. The sun is hot and dry and burns up the watery, flowy energy of our emotions. It makes it hard to express emotions. We don't go there. We mightn't even know what it feels like to be, particularly sad or particularly angry or particularly, have a highly charged emotional reaction. We're just not emotionally geared. We can be, though, quite emotionally agitated and frustrated. We might stress easily with this combo. We might worry easily. We might get angry easily, even though there's this unfamiliarity with emotional expression, and we sort of even aren't maybe consciously aware of when we're behaving in an emotionally irrational way or a difficult way emotionally for others. We might be conscious of our behavior and our, nature in that regard, but we do find with this combo there is this quickness about suddenly getting cross and getting cranky and getting agitated because the emotions aren't familiar, aren't recognizable. So we don't even know that we're doing it half the time. Now, there can be difficulty in adapting in life. As I said, the moon is flowy, and so the, watery and sort of flexible, and that's all been sort of sucked dry by the sun. So the ability to flow with life is usurped as well. Not only that, but our focus on one area of life is just so strong that other areas lack. So here we are all G'd up about our career. Forget our, family at home. I'm working, 60-hour weeks. Thank you very much, because my energy, my drive, my focus, my satisfaction is all up here in the workforce, in the career, in, being CEO of the mining company or whatever it happens to be. Stuff you, family down here, you don't matter. So that's a very extreme example, but that's what we're looking at here. There's this difficulty in adapting to other realms of life because the focus in one area alone will be so strong. So other areas miss out, and we lack the flexibility of being able to shift from one realm to the other, being out with our friends to being home and having some quiet time. And, we just don't have that flow and flexibility that other people who've got a more dispersed moon-sun placement tend to have. We might even, worst case scenario with this, we might even be unable to feel peaceful and content in life because the moon represents peace and content. And if we've got a really combust moon at sort of similar degrees to the sun, then that is also dried up by the sun. So even though we focus all our energy and intent to wherever it happens to be, in this example, the 10th house, even if we're doing that, we might never feel satisfied. We might never feel content. We might never feel that we've achieved or got where we want to get with regard to, in this case, 10th house career affairs. There's this inability when we have a very strongly conjunct moon and sun born under a new moon. The other things that can manifest is this tendency to forgo the world, to be so off in our own egoic realm or our own desires and pursuing them to the nth degree that we forget the world. This is often forgoing the world and not being sort of geared and present and active and aware in the world. It's often a quality that people ascribe to introversion. They're not connecting, they're not communicating, they're not networking, they're introverted. I don't believe it's actually the case that this tendency to forgo the world, we'll call it that, is one and the same as introversion. I think that they're actually different. Introversion can be an inability to cope. Certainly as a Pisces person, I sometimes display qualities of introversion where I just can't cope with the reality of the world, which is very different to this tendency to forego the expectations of the world or the requirements of living life on the planet. So involved in your career that you're just not present with life on the planet that the rest of us are experiencing, because you're just in that zone so much with career. That's an example. You forego the world in a way. So don't always think that that is going to be a signature of introversion. Don't always think that this foregoing of the world is a signature for introversion. They are different things, but both of these things, the tendency to introversion, particularly with the applying moon, and the tendency to forego involvement with the world, they're two different things, but they manifest both of them with this combo. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, Vedic astrology actually teaches that this combination of sun and moon conjunction can bring loss or letting go of something. So when I say loss, I'm not saying, oh, you're not going to have any money or you're going to die or anything like that. It's loss that correlates to a letting go, voluntarily letting go of something. And this thing that we let go of is usually represented by the opposite sign, and that's why I'm using the wheel today, because I really wanted to show this theory. So in having, let's say, this conjunction in Sagittarius, the opposite sign is down here, Gemini. If we happen to be Pisces rising, our focus is with a new moon in Sagittarius is all on career, legacy I'm going to leave, becoming a CEO, being the boss, being an authority figure. That's where my energy is heading. That's what I want out of life. And because of that, we let go of and lose the opposite sign, in this case, Gemini. And this is the fourth house. So this is just one example. You need to know your houses and signs to really understand the fullness of this combo. In this case, as the example case, because you're focusing on career so much, you don't care about family. I shouldn't say that you don't care, but the focus or the energy is just not here for family, for your maternal, heritage, roots, your lineage, the community you came from. So we might see this signature in the lives of people who turn their back on their heritage, their roots, who deny the fact that they came from, say, a difficult background or a different cultural background, and they focus instead on where I'm heading and who I am now in the world. This is one of the signatures we can see for that. More fourth house, 10th house energy might be that, the CEO of the mining company whose wife goes and has an affair and they end up divorced because he just has had no time with them as the family, because he's been so intent on career and career success that family has just gone by the by. And that happens quite a lot in big business, because that's almost what's expected of people in big business, that family don't matter. Unfortunately, we see and hear stories like that a lot. But so watch out for that if you've got this signature. But that's another example, an example of how this can actually play out in real life, where our focus is here and that we lose. So that's what I mean by, in Vedic astrology, this signature indicates loss in another area of life, and it's the area of life that opposes the new moon. Now, we've talked about the fact that this combination indicates that the parents will generally be on the same page with their child rearing or with the way they interact and treat you. Yes, that is the case. But for you, your relationship with your parents can be particularly difficult. The parents might be a bit more detached, particularly the mother energy if it is in combustion with the sun. The mother energy can be burnt, can be lacking in some way. The mother, not that she won't be present, but maybe she's just so busy focused on her career, or maybe she's busy with a disabled other sibling or something like that. There'll be some reason why the mother energy is lacking in your life in some way. So relationship with parents can be difficult because of this, especially when the moon is combust and invisible. And you will you'll tend to feel with this combo a lack, unless there's other things going on in the chart that change this, keep that in mind, but there's a lack of nourishment from the mother for you because the moon is dried up in your chart, okay? And that can be very hurtful, and that can lead to needing to get, therapy or deal with mother issues at some point down the track because of that, even if it's not your mother's fault that's the case, So be prepared. If you have this combo and you do have hurts and wounds like this from childhood, go and see a psychologist, go and do something about it, and heal from that wound if that's present in your life. What are some remedies? That's the bit we're getting to now, the juicy stuff that helps us to deal with the challenges of a placement like this. Well, the good news is that this gets better after the maturation of the moon and the sun. The moon is our emotional maturation, which occurs at age 24, and the sun is our physical maturation, which occurs at age 21. So usually around 24, we find we start to come into we feel a bit more, we get more emotional connectivity within us, our relationship with our parents, the dynamics change a bit for the better. So usually around age 24, you might even notice it happening around age 21, where that starts to occur for you, as well as these two planets reach their maturation point and you become wiser and more understanding and compassionate towards yourself and towards the things you've experienced in life. You end up at this maturation point getting more confidence in your mind. The sun is confidence and the moon represents our emotions and our mind. So you get more confidence of the mind at this maturation point, and you get a better relationship with the parents as well, which is a bonus. If you find that this doesn't shift at the maturation point for you, or if you're younger than this, younger than sort of 24, and you want to work towards healing and resolving this as quick as possible, then I would encourage you to develop a relationship with some sort of maternal person. Your mother might not be available to do this with. That's okay. Find someone else who can be like a mother figure to you, who can be that maternal figure. Develop a connection, develop a relationship with that person. If your relationship with your mother continues to be strained and difficult throughout life because of this, so find someone. There's lots of loving people out there in the world who would step into that realm and take on that mother role for you if you needed it. Drink more water. Now this is actually really important as a remedy for this, because as I've said all along, the moon's dried up and the things that are represented by the moon are dried up. So replace that in a real, tangible, earthly way. Drink more water. Have more sort of watery foods like watermelon and, maybe juicy things like pineapple and stuff like that. Eat more watery foods. Drink more water in general. And this will really help the relationship generally that you have with maternal figures, but also the other things represented by the moon, your emotional nature, your ability to flow with life. These things will be improved by increasing more water in your body itself. Also, calcium. The moon is connected to calcium, so take calcium supplements, drink a glass of milk before bed. It will help you, especially if you're a bit insomnia prone. That would probably be the case if you had this conjunction in the 12th house. Take a bit more calcium into your life. Nuts and legumes can also have calcium in them, so that's also another strategy. Do regular meditation, because the moon is connected to the mind, so calming the mind, getting in touch with the mind, stilling the mind, doing some sort of connective exercise that opens up your mind, like meditation and yoga and so forth. These are really good things to do when you have this combo. And also to get involved in water sports, or swimming, or walking by water, or just paddling in the water. being connected to water is going to be really balancing for the dryness that the sun brings. So make it a regular practice. Use this in your routine, your daily routine, to get in the water, go for a swim, have a shower, soak in the bath. These things on a regular basis will really help as well. The more watery influence you can surround yourself with in life, living near water, the moon is where we live. If you choose to sort of live near water, you will balance out this energy. Now, ordinarily, you might have noticed that I would say with the moon, say moon and Uranus, live in a high place, live in a place with the views, things that you can see far ahead. That's really, combine Uranus's qualities with the moon's living home qualities, put them together. Not so much this case. I think you want to balance and get more moon energy into your life. So go for living near a lake or near some water. And I think you'll tend to sort of balance that dryness and have a more stabilized life if you can do that. So look for sort of more lunar places to live. Don't go living on the moon, but watery places would be a good start. So that's what we see with this interesting, fascinating combo. As I said in the beginning of this video, there was so much information for this one. I hope I haven't overwhelmed you. So thanks very much for joining me. Do hook in for next week's free astrological video on the moon, and check out the other videos in this series as well on the moon with all the other planets and what it means. Don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in these free astrology lessons and in my weekly forecasts. Thanks once again for joining me. I'll catch you next week.